Shocker Volleyball on WSU TV. UConn comes to town, and for the 15th consecutive season, the Shockers with 20 victories, two teams going in opposite directions as they meet here tonight at the Roundhouse. Welcome in, Shane Dennis, Denning Gehrig, Shocker Volleyball continuing. Wichita State 12-0 at the top of the heap of the American Conference, the only unbeaten, although Temple, who will be in here on Sunday, nipping at the Shocker heels should they falter here this evening, as Wichita State took one relatively easily earlier this year up in Storrs, Connecticut. The two polls, one important, one not quite as much. This one is the latter. The Shockers ranked 21st. They've kind of plateaued. They've been at number 21 the last 3 consecutive weeks. What's really important, the numbers anyway, is the RPI, where Wichita State is in good shape, Denning, but not much opportunity for advancement from here on out. Not a lot of good RPI games left, really.
Yeah, the Shockers gunning for one of those top 16 spots and the possibility of a national seed, but as you mentioned, there's just not many opportunities left on the remaining schedule to improve, and the Shockers really will just have to focus upon winning matches, the match that's in front of them, and let the RPI take care of itself.
Pretty brief overall series, obviously. The Shockers on a 12-match winning streak. That's top 5 in program history as they steam toward another NCAA postseason berth. The Shockers haven't lost here since Iowa State swept them out of their own gym, but Wichita State has been virtually unstoppable ever since. Speaking of unstoppable, you got a trio here, Denning, that we talk about all the time, but the impressive thing about these three is it comes from all different spots on the floor.
Yeah, just incredible balance, and the Shockers have had it virtually all season. They needed career afternoons from all three of them down in South Florida, where Wichita State got pushed to 5 sets for the first time in American Conference play. Lehman with 22 kills. Brown had 23. That's the first time two Shockers have had 20-plus kills in the same match since 2007. And Emily Hebert has been passing them the ball. She has been outstanding. 62 assists in that match down against South Florida. When all three of those players are clicking, the Shockers are tough to beat.
Tabitha Brown with 30 kills of her own over the weekend in Florida, and you see there Abby Lehman, not only is she super efficient offensively, she was the conference defensive player of the week as well. So Wichita State and UConn coming up. The Huskies will be without one of their better players. We'll talk about that and meet the coaches when we come back.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
UConn most recently last weekend lost back-to-back 5-setters in their own gym. It was a tough weekend to be sure for them, and now they hit the road for 4 straight, and they'll be doing it without one of their better players, at least tonight anyway. Kayla Williams, their leading attacker, who's had nearly 900 swings this year, will not play in this match. She's only 5'9", but she can really leap. And so with her absence, Denning, they'll turn to the next best thing, and that's Allie Barrett.
Yeah, Williams has really been their workhorse all season, but Barrett's been really a more than capable second option. She was a highly touted recruit, an Under Armour All-American out of high school, and she's capable of some big performances. She had 16 kills and 19 kills in back-to-back matches against Cincinnati and East Carolina earlier this year.
Emma Turner will be setting her and others up, nearly 10 assists per set.
And whenever you subtract a Kayla Williams from a roster, it really goes on to the setter and distributing the ball evenly to kind of take the load off of that shoulders and distribute the ball evenly to their other attackers.
So Emma Turner with comparable numbers to Emily Hebert, although Emily Hebert well over 11 assists per set as well. There's your 4th-year head coach for UConn, Chris Grunwald. He is 10-14 this year, 3-9 in the league, a 4-game losing streak. 16-15 last year. It seems like the UConn just kind of playing out the string. Here's their starting lineup that they'll march out without Kayla Williams.
Well, obviously, it's going to be difficult to replace that kind of an absence, but they will lean pretty heavily upon Barrett, and Iman McGarry has been playing pretty well as of late. She came on very well in the late half of last season and has continued that into this year.
Tosi Dini, the only senior of the bunch right there, so they are somewhat young as they finish the season stretch. Wichita State under 18th year head coach Chris Lamb steaming toward yet another tremendous regular season finish, but as you and I talked about just a second ago, Denning, they got bigger fish to fry and certainly bigger goals than just winning the conference.
It's difficult to kind of keep track of focusing on just the match that's right in front of you, but I feel like that's the approach that Coach Lamb has been able to instill and maintain throughout this year, and we'll see if it can continue tonight.
One that just barely makes it over the tape eventually turns into a shocker point. So just like that, Wichita State gets the first point. There's Chris Lamb, and as Denning mentioned, got a little scared down in Florida in one of the matches with UCF and USF, and when you've only lost 5 sets out of 12 conference matches, that 5-setter that they had to gut out maybe got their attention a little bit.
And we've noted a couple of times this year that early in matches, typically in the first set, Wichita State kind of has a feeling out process where they don't necessarily put the foot down until sets 2, 3, and 4. But down in South Florida, they definitely got pushed. They were down 2-1, had to really rally.
Isabella Peterson, the freshman for UConn, kind of an awkward hit, was just deep. So the point goes Wichita State's way, but coming right back, it looked like was Peterson, the 5'10 freshman, had a career-high 12 kills in their most recent match against Houston.
Shane, you mentioned only one senior in that starting lineup. They're going to lean pretty heavily upon youngsters and coming into a difficult environment in which to win.
One of the players we highlighted at the very open, Allie Barrett, a true freshman, but Jenna Florig, number 8, a redshirt freshman, and Isabel Peterson, also a true freshman. So they are really getting thrown in the fire. It's not early in the season anymore, but playing the likes of Wichita State, you got to be pretty much flawless.
Good sign for the Shockers, getting Lehman involved early. Of course, she had that outstanding weekend down in Florida against South and Central Florida, and set up by Hebert, as she often is. A nice swing and a kill.
Tosi Dini left by herself, basically right in the middle, to try to block that bullet by Abby Lehman. So the team's trading a pair of points to begin with. Now the Shockers try to re-establish some advantage here. In the middle, Lehman, that one dug out nicely on the back line. Alex Kuhn's first swing off the block, and a point Wichita State. Alex Kuhn in the starting lineup tonight, Denning.
Yeah, good to see her getting some early action. She has been a very consistent source of offense for Wichita State this season, and her big calling card is just efficiency. She rarely makes attack errors, just puts the ball in a difficult spot for the defense to do anything with it.
Like off the right hand of Isabel Peterson, and turned into a Shocker point. UConn out of system. We'll see if the Shockers can cash it in. Off the slide, Lehman. So now 3 in a row by Wichita State, and Abby Lehman right in the middle of everything.
That's just academic for the Shockers off of the free ball opportunity. Hannah Shelton digging it out, and then Hebert feeding Lehman on the slide. The Huskies were not in the right defensive position to make the play.
Lehman, as we showed you at the outset, 33 kills last weekend, hit .474. And for her to hit .400 or better in a match is almost commonplace now. Trying to catch the Shockers off guard, and overpass, or the dump went a little too deep, and now Shockers trying to run away with this first set.
If Wichita State wins the serve-receive, it's going to be a long night for UConn. There is absolutely no chance if the Huskies can't get a good dig on the opening serve and then get into some kind of an offensive system.
4 in a row reeled off by the Shockers. And boy, when it rains, it pours. That's not something the Shockers are really known for, but when you get those to fall in. Michaela Raudsep will take it. Through the block, Lehman denied, at least for the moment. Big swing off the right by Peterson. So that breaks that skid, and Isabel Peterson, at least in the early going, has emerged as the go-to gal for UConn, as opposed to maybe Tosi Adini, the senior, or Allie Barrett.
Huskies not really trying to work towards the middles, at least in the early going, and a nice back set there from Emma Turner to set her up.
That's stuffed at the net by UConn, so now 2 in a row for the Huskies.
UConn doesn't do much of that. They are last in the American in blocks per set coming in. They're also last in digs per set, so UConn has had their struggles on the defensive side of things so far this year.
Another kill in the middle by Abby Lehman. Statistically, Wichita State, and we've talked about this here on WSU TV for the last 3 or 4 matches, it seems like every important statistical category, offense or defense, Wichita State is right at the top. But one of those that maybe we don't sing their praises quite enough is blocking and opponent hitting percentage. I mean, those are a couple of Wichita State's calling cards. How many calling cards can you have? Like a dozen, but.
And to me, it's not even necessarily the blocks that show up in the scorebook. It's their ability to alter shots, to get deflections, to give their back row players opportunities to get digs on balls where you take a lot of the heat off of it. And just really the size up front, the experience, the timing, it really adds up to a pretty lethal combination.
UConn kind of hanging around here in the first set. It's now 8-6. The best either of the Florida schools hit last weekend was 161, and statistically, UConn is a club that hits 196. Far cry from Wichita State's season output, and certainly last weekend's output as well. And since Wichita State's got in the American, they're routinely above 300, something you rarely see.
And it's mostly because of points like that. Great job by Hebert on the ball, very tight to the net, in which both blockers slid over, anticipating a quick second ball over from her, but instead she was able to get the pass away to Lehman, who thundered it home.
Through the block, and that turned into a point. Wichita State never quite got over to the Shocker side of the floor. And so Wichita State's first 1 to 10. Abby Lehman, 4 more kills already here this evening after a stellar weekend against the Florida schools, as Denning pointed out. That one misfires by the Huskies, and now the Shockers taking control again. Iman McGarry, as Denning had mentioned, had been hot, but she misfired there, and now the Shockers have forced a timeout. 11-6 Wichita State. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
When you talk about solo blocks, block assists, total blocks, solo blocks, doesn't really matter. Abby Lehman's got her name pretty much written all over the Shocker history books.
Yeah, you can see she's inched her way into the top 5 in career block assists and definitely has a chance to catch Elizabeth Myers with a hot finish. She has really made an impact on the defensive side of things in addition to her offensive efficiency this year.
Nice stuff at the net. The second try by Iman McGarry. Denied again, and Wichita State turns it into a point. So the Shockers got up early, Denning, and then kind of let UConn hang around. UConn got within 8-6, but now it's all Shockers once again as Hebert does what she does.
Great example of the versatility that Hebert brings. She gets the deflection on the big swing and then gets herself back into a position where she's able to guide that second ball over. Teams have kind of started reading the scouting report on Hebert as an attacker. We hadn't seen as much of her going on the offensive, but there she was able to take advantage of an opportunity.
Hebert, 11.3 assists per set, but also now in triple figures in kills. And for a setter to have 1.35 kills per set, it's pretty heady stuff. Raudsep tried one from the 10-foot line. Tabitha Brown with a rare swing. And did it hit the floor? I think one of the officials initially said it was in, but did not hit the floor, and it eventually turned out for Wichita State as UConn kind of mishandled things. But Tabitha Brown narrowly missing a kill. Kind of funny that Tabitha Brown barely missed a career high in kills in one of the matches in Florida, and we've barely mentioned her name so far here tonight, and the Shockers leading comfortably.
Isn't that just indicative of everything that this program is? It is not about single players. It really doesn't even matter what you did last time out. It's who has the best opportunities against this particular opponent, who's been practicing well, who do we feel like fits into the system for this particular match.
Tabitha Brown, 23 kills against UCF. That was a rare mishandle by the Shockers near the net. But Brown with 30 total kills on the weekend, 23 against UCF. Her career high had been earlier this year, way back, with 24 against Miami of Ohio. Shockers have never trailed here in the first set, and they continue to keep the pressure on with pressure at the net.
Emma Wright has got herself a couple of blocks so far tonight. Good job getting into defensive position, recognizing that ball was going to be sliced back towards the middle of the court. Got the hands up.
She and Tabitha Brown teaming up there on the right side of the Shocker net. Hannah Shelton to serve.
It's not just Lehman when it comes to Wichita State's blocks. It really is the outside hitters who get involved. Raudsep and Brown do a great job.
Big swing by Isabel Peterson. Or Peterson, I should say, the freshman with the kill. Shockers still in plenty good shape, leading 14-10. There you see Avery Spaziani checking out. She had 8 digs in the Sunday match. Big swing in the middle again by Wichita State, turns into a kill.
Good to see Emma Wright back in there. She had been battling a little bit of a concussion after she was struck with a volleyball in pregame warmups. Hadn't played much over the last couple weekends, but making a pretty early contribution tonight.
Chiva to serve for Wichita State. A dump across by Emma Turner, and the Shockers keep it off the floor. A big swing in the middle by McGarry. Iman McGarry, the junior. She had 14 kills and 44 digs back on Sunday.
Yeah, double-digit kills in both the matches last weekend for the Huskies against both Tulane and Houston. Girl came on strong as of late last year and has carried it into this year.
You know, when you look at it on paper, Denning, the record, the attack percentage versus the defensive numbers between these two clubs, and it's obviously a mismatch on paper, but when you go out and execute like Wichita State has so far, there haven't been any long rallies. I mean, the Shockers have pretty much done exactly what they wanted to, and UConn hasn't had much of an answer for them.
I think they force you to play near perfect volleyball, and they are counting on the fact that they're going to make less mistakes than you will, and then oftentimes they're not wrong in that assumption.
Yeah. Off the side of the hand, it looked like by Iman McGarry. So now the Shockers up 6. Raudsep to serve. Raudsep closing in on a milestone. Seems like every match we're zeroing in on 1 or 2 Shocker ladies that are looking for some sort of milestone to pass, and she's yet another one. Iman McGarry's been active so far in the early going. The first part of the first set, it was Isabel Peterson, and now it seems like they've turned to McGarry a little bit more. 17-12, Wichita State. Pretty nice unconventional job of setting up a Shocker attacker just inside the left pin right there.
Nice job by Chivita on a a ball that requires a lot more touch than I think is evident just when you look at it initially. That's not easy to execute that bump set to perfection, and that's exactly what she did.
UConn will take a timeout. Georgia Chivita with a rare assist for Wichita State. They lead it now 18-12. Hey, you can catch the latest episode of On Pace with Shocker Track and Field. On Pace keeps you up to date with the latest Wichita State cross country and track and field news, and you'll want to listen to this. The Shockers, first of all, competed last weekend in Philadelphia in their first American Conference cross country meet. The men's team finished 5th, and the women came in 6th. And 2 former Shocker All-Americans, Alafine Tuliamuk and Kellen Taylor, will both be competing Sunday in the New York City Marathon. Both runners are expected big things, so keep your eye on both Kellen and Alafine. Tuliamuk was a 2-time All-American, you might remember, competed for the Shockers in 2011 and 12, and was recently named to the Missouri Valley Conference Women's Cross Country 25-year team. On Pace with Shocker Track and Field, only on Wichita State TV's YouTube channel. Big stuff, New York City Marathon coming up. So Wichita State trying to extend it to 13 consecutive victories, trying to send UConn to its 5th consecutive loss. And certainly the numbers bear out the domination, 18-12 so far, Denning, especially with the attack percentage.
Wichita State hitting .450 right now, leading them to this 6-point lead, and UConn sitting on 0. So that generally is going to be pretty indicative of a very thorough performance.
And that one avoided a pair of Shocker hands and went deep and out of bounds. Yeah, you take a look at the opposing hitting percentages over the last 3 weeks or so. USF 021, UCF 161. ECU actually put up a pretty good fight here, hit 227. Cincinnati 194, Tulsa 071. SMU came in undefeated, hit below 100 as well. So you talk about the Shockers putting people in their place. I mean, they're just pushing people around.
It speaks so many volumes that we haven't had to talk about, well, is this going to be a win or a loss? It's, well, is this going to go 3 sets or 4? That's basically been the discussion here at home.
Yeah, especially here at home. Denning mentioned a couple of times, Shockers got pushed in Florida, but they really haven't, not in the American and not in this building.
Finally getting to call Tabitha Brown's name a little bit more. Good swing down the line there, and very little chance, even with a Husky in pretty good defensive position.
And another misfire by McGarry on the left side.
I mentioned this earlier. If UConn can't get into an offensive system, if they're taking swings from near the 10-foot line, it's going to be a long night there. To have 8 attack errors now hitting in the negatives.
Yeah, I think you said that earlier, long night, and by long you mean pretty short.
Short, yes.
Brown denied for the moment. McGarry stuffed at the net. That's going to turn into a Shocker point. Went underneath the net. Emma Turner couldn't quite get to it. Now the Shockers really getting close.
And I think you're starting to see the absence of Kayla Williams starting to take its effect. UConn just really doesn't have an offensive weapon who at least Wichita State has to account for.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. She only hits 168, but statistically for their team, she's the one that takes the lion's share of the swings. 310 kills. Last year led the club with 392 kills, played less and less in each of the last 2 matches, so clearly something wrong with her, and she's not playing at all tonight.
Another good swing for Tabitha Brown, getting her momentum going towards the net, pounding that one off the block and out as she continues to work her way into this. She's got 3 kills. Lehman leading the way with her 5.
Hebert and the Shockers trying to make quick work of the Huskies, at least here in the first set. Barely skims over the tape, and the Shockers have had at least a couple of aces by my count, and now it's set point. Hebert's 14th service ace of the year. The Shockers don't get too many of those, but that's tops on the club. And Raudsep puts it away. It was all Shockers all the time in that first set. They were tied at 2-2, but UConn could get no closer than 8-6 the rest of the way. And Wichita State firing on all cylinders after one set. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV. Set 2 coming up.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shockers dominated UConn in that first set. There you see it. It was really not close. Shane Denning-Gehring with you back here at Charles Koch Arena. The Shockers try to get to 13-0. On top of all the success the Shockers have had on the volleyball floor, you're talking about Emily Hebert and Abby Lehman. You have to mention them in a separate category as well. The Senior Class Award, Denning. These gals can do it all.
Well, they have been the class of the Americans so far. You talk about Lehman, a 3-time All-American, honorable mention selection in her first 3 years here, and Emily Hebert, an All-Valley selection each of the last 2 years, including Setter of the Year in 2016. They have really smoothed over any of the road bumps that you might expect transitioning from the Missouri Valley to the American, made it a seamless transition, and the Shockers right back where they were in the Valley at the top of the heap.
And a Senior Class Award, a student athlete has to be a senior, obviously, and also have notable achievements in 4 areas of excellence: community, classroom, character, and competition. Certainly statistically and what they've done on the floor, the Shockers will miss them when they're gone, but they'll leave a lasting mark not only on Wichita State athletics, but Wichita itself.
Those names are going to be all over the Shocker record books when it's said and done. We already highlighted Lehman making her way up the career block totals, and Hebert is going to be right up there in assists as well.
I don't know if they've had any jersey retirements, avenues named after them in Newton, Kansas, but 2 pretty good candidates right there. You talked about the record book. There's Abby Lehman and her block assist in her Shocker career, nipping at Elizabeth Meyer's heels.
And if it was just that, if it was just her career blocks, that'd be impressive enough. And then you add in that she's one of the most efficient middles in the entire country on the offensive side of things. It really adds up to a special player.
Yeah, she's putting up crazy numbers. As of a week or so ago, she was right at the top 30 in the nation in attack percentage. She's leading the American, and it's not close. She's hitting .412. Emily Hebert, by the way, is 4th in the American in hitting.
That'll
She's
work.
Attacking at .325, so it certainly comes from all over. You know, we mentioned Tabitha Brown. Sprinkle her in here and there. You get some contributions from Emma Wright and Alex Kuhn, and then if you're the opposing coach, you just kind of throw your hands up.
It looks like a team that's built to win in the NCAA tournament, to have that many weapons, because not everyone's going to be clicking on a given night. You're going to have to rely on some sources of offense that you didn't necessarily get. You can't necessarily lean on your stars at all times. It'll take others, and this is kind of the chemistry and the depth that Wichita State has this year.
And if you're not going to throw it up to the ceiling and then just out-athlete you, which is hard to do consistently, this is how you play. This is how you draw up a game plan. And Chris Lamb does it each and every night.
Puts players in positions to succeed. If you wanted to basically sum it up, that's how the Shockers get it done night in, night out.
Well, that's pretty much the first rule of being a good coach. Put your players in positions where they can succeed. So here we go, set 2 after the Shockers dominated 25-14. Had a side-out percentage of 73 in the first set. There was one tie in the first set. It was 2-2. And UConn out to change that. Big swing off the left.
haven't gotten to call Allie Barrett's name much. We highlighted her in the open about how she will be tasked with taking a lot of the offensive load off the shoulders of Kayla Williams, but only has 3 kills so far on 6 total attacks now.
She had 5 against Houston. I have a feeling she'll end up with more than 5 here tonight. There'll be plenty of swings for her to fire up. And there Michaela Raudsep puts it away for her unofficially 3rd kill of the match. If she gets 5 more, she'll get to 1,000. Michaela Raudsep closing in on that milestone. And you talk about ambassadors for the program. We highlighted Abby Lehman, Emily Hebert, what they do on and off the floor with the senior class award, top 30. Michaela Raudsep, it should be pointed out on this particular night, and there's another point, Wichita State. They're going with, the Shockers are, during the pass and serve and the warm-up, they had green T-shirts on, and on the front of them, you see a couple of staff members and maybe coaches for Wichita State still has the green T-shirts on. It's an American Conference initiative to bring awareness promoting mental health. And at the forefront of all that is Michaela Raudsep. She is not only the spokesperson for Wichita State volleyball, but all student athletes at Wichita State representing the Americans. So really stand-up job by Michaela Raudsep to promote mental health and awareness. And the slogan is, it's okay not to be okay. And Michaela Raudsep is really, really passionate about that movement. She's doing a great job with it, bringing awareness to the American.
It'd be one thing if Wichita State just had great players, but you talk to every single person on this team, and they're all great people too. And Michaela Raudsep, an excellent, as you said, an ambassador for this university. She is always very vocal about causes, and I think we mentioned in a previous show that she kind of has this mothering instinct. She takes care of others.
You can see it when you pan over to the Shocker bench over toward the left side, a handful of staff members with those green T-shirts on. It's a hashtag Powerful Minds. And Michaela Raudsep is at the forefront of it, bringing awareness for student athletes to exercises to de-stress or focus more, and certainly the really dangerous potentially of depression and speaking out. So good on Michaela Raudsep and good on the American as well. Meanwhile, it's more of the same on the floor. Shockers, after spotting UConn a 1-0 advantage, have scored the last 5. And Raudsep's been serving for a while.
Something we haven't mentioned a whole lot is Wichita State's digging balls out at a pretty exceptional rate so far tonight. They've got 16 of them up to this point. Hannah Shelton had a very nice one on that last rally to get the Shockers into a position to get a kill.
Yeah, quick in the middle. That was a good-looking setup for Tosi Adini. She's been really quiet. She's, like we said earlier, the only senior in the starting lineup. She gets a rare swing there.
Came in 6th in the American in hitting percentage. She was 3rd in the conference last year, but we had not said her name much.
Back-to-back points by the Huskies. They get within 5-3. Yeah, statistically, with the attack percentage, Tosi had a really nice senior season, hitting .311 coming into this one. And of course, Emma Turner setting her up for most of those. She is also top 5 in the American in assists. But going to take more than those two, and you touched on it in the first set, Danny. The Shockers force you to play almost perfect, and UConn certainly got a little work to do if they're going to get that done tonight.
You can see it for stretches where an opponent's can hang with Wichita State for 10, maybe 15 points, but at one point or another, the Shockers are going to put the foot on the gas, and they tend to run away from teams.
Well, and not only does Wichita State make you play perfectly, they don't let you breathe on the other side either. The Shockers don't make many mistakes of their own.
No, we saw a ball handling error from Emily Hebert, and that is rare to say the least. Mistakes like that from her, almost non-existent.
Alex Kuhn served for the Shockers, up 7-4. Another ball handling error at the net. The Shockers, I suppose, with an unforced error, with the benefit there, as UConn couldn't get it across in 3. Kennedy Arundel was in the middle of that one. Had one slip off her hand.
The Shockers had been attacking Barrett on the serve. They recognized she had had some shaky moments in the serve receive and went after it 3 times in a row. This time she was able to dig it out and get the Huskies into some semblance of an offensive set.
Here's Arundel serving for UConn, the libero. Boy, I feel like we've seen a lot of those tonight from UConn, those service errors. You know, the other thing that they're missing with Kayla Williams being out, she leads the conference in aces as well. So when she gets back there to serve or not serve, as is the case tonight, it's kind of a gaping hole.
That's those hidden points, and UConn has given away far too many tonight. Kayla Williams was a pretty good source of offense from the serving line for them.
And Wichita State couldn't quite keep it off the floor, off the serve from Kara Bound. Big hole in the left side of the Shockers floor right near the tape. And there you see right there, looked like Abby Mostrom couldn't quite keep it alive. And boy, just as we sing their praises and say they rarely mishandle the ball, that was not one of the better Shocker moments of the night.
Well, Mostrom has been so solid on the back row for Wichita State all year, teaming with Hannah Shelton. Gives the Shockers a good defensive presence.
Hebert tried for the dump across and tries it again and catches them scrambling. Boy, you talk about having either eyes on the side of your head or the back of your head. The deep right corner was the place to go with that, and she threaded the needle.
That's just volleyball knowledge. She knew that Barrett had come up for that back row attack, and so she was going to be out of position. There was nobody in the back right corner of the court, and she threaded the needle too. Didn't have a whole lot of room to work with.
Emma Turner trying for the dump. Kurt Grunwald wanted 4 touches on Wichita State's side. Didn't get the call. And it eventually turns into a Shocker point. So they've been comfortably in front here in the second set. Not quite like the first set, but still you don't feel like that UConn has been able to put enough together to really threaten them here in set number 2.
I think both coaching staffs have had their issues with the officiating at one point or another tonight. Huskies on the short end of that call.
Looked like it went on the wrong side of the pin over on the far side. Point Wichita State. Another attack error for UConn. This one courtesy of Jenna Floyd off the slide.
That's 11 attack errors now for the Huskies, as their hitting percentage continues to hover right around 0. Hard to sustain anything.
Kind of a ray of light has been Iman McGarry at different points here in the early going. Dennis had some really good swings, the junior.
Well, I think the Huskies felt like she was their best option with Williams out as far as outside hitters go. Not easy to replace that kind of production, but McGarry's been playing well as of late.
She's had 15 swings to Isabel Peterson's 10, so that what Denning said kind of that bears it out. Those numbers do. Arundel set up Barrett. It was stuffed by the Shockers at the net. And Barrett, with a joust at the net, loses that battle. Point Shockers.
Really nice dig out of the back row from Spaziani to keep that point alive, but then they just could not get themselves into position to get Barrett the ball where she can put any kind of a good swing on it.
Shelton couldn't quite dig that one out. Kill to Allie Barrett. Checking back in for the Huskies is Tosi Adini, 6'2" middle. She hit 349 last year. We talked earlier that she was above 300 again this year. We have an Emma Wright sighting again, Denny.
We do indeed. More good things. Redshirt freshman from Phoenix, Arizona. She kind of seems like the heir apparent to Abby Lehman. Of course, right now we don't want to think about that.
Right.
We don't want to think that Abby Lehman and Emily Heber will be moving on, but it will happen at some point, and Wright looks like she's going to be a good one.
Nobody home in the middle, and Adini with the kill for UConn. Not only do we not want to look that far ahead, we don't want to try to place someone into Hebert's or Lehman's shoes either. That's a
Big shoes
to fill, yeah. But the positions will be open next year. We do know that. So UConn, as they did in the first set, kind of hanging around. It was 8-6 after 14 points in the first set. UConn down just 3 after an overpass. Well, the Shockers are going to live to tell about it, at least for now. Elizabeth Klein with the set. Abby Lehman puts it away for the Shockers. So we get to the 15-point mark. The Shockers win the race to 15. We'll see if they can get the next 10 with no trouble. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Shockers beat UConn without much trouble on opening weekend up in Stores, and now trying to finish them off here in Wichita. You stop by the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes 2 hours prior to all WSU men's basketball games and enjoy great game day specials on food and drinks. It's a perfect place to meet your friends before all the men's home games. If the Shockers are on the road, you can catch all the games on TV at the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes, lower level in the Radigan Student Center. And that is upon us as well. Basketball doubleheader tomorrow, exhibition style. Women at 1, men at 5, and then Denning and I will be back here on Sunday for Temple. That ought to be a spirited match. It looks like Temple and Wichita State clearly the top 2 in the league.
And one of the few challenges remaining on the schedule for Wichita State. They still got to go to Cincinnati and SMU. Those are the other ones that kind of represent red flags, but otherwise not much.
Adini was stuffed at the net, and a little bit later on, Chivita with a dig on the back line for the Shockers. And that one way out, miss hit by Allie Barrett. And another attack error there. There's Hannah Shelton, one of the Shocker seniors. She's from Valley Center, hanging out on the back line.
Groh has just bought into this defensive system. She has been committed to ensuring that not many balls get down to the floor in the back row against Wichita State. When it's her and Mostrom and Chivita back there, it is hard to find some empty court.
Kuhn winds up, and nice dig on the back by McGarry. The point goes Wichita State.
Going back to that match you mentioned in Stores, there were times Connecticut hung around, especially in set 2. They made it 25-23 before the Shockers ultimately got the W there. And Wichita State just kind of gradually improved in that. They had 270 in the first set, 321 in the second, 382 in the third. And it's been a little bit of a different story tonight. Shockers started hot, they stayed that way.
You know, and we mentioned not exactly one of the Shockers' forte serving. It served them well tonight because that last serve really gave UConn some issues and turned into a Shocker point and forces a UConn timeout. So now 18-11, Wichita State in set number 2. Wichita State gets hot serving. God, look out.
I mean, it's crazy to think about. They have done a good job of just, I think, forcing UConn to put themselves in positions where Barrett can't necessarily get good swings, and without her, it's kind of hard to find the points.
Ilrich Museum of Art will feature Dr. Rizvana Bradley in an artist talk. That's Monday, November the 6th. Bradley is an assistant professor of film and media studies and African American studies at Yale University. Her lecture is presented in conjunction with the Ulrich exhibition, Looking at the Overlooked. The artist talk begins at 6:15 in the Campus Activities Center Theater. Coming up Monday, November the 6th.
One of my favorite things about Wichita State timeouts is if you look over in the Shocker huddle right now, Chris Lamb is just down on his hands and knees demonstrating the points. He doesn't want a stool. He doesn't want a chair. He is there to demonstrate, and he gets into it. It is really fun to watch.
Yeah, you're only going to have a couple of more chances to come out and see this team in person. And if you don't do it Sunday, you're down to your last one the day after Thanksgiving. You're going to have to wait a while to see some Shocker volleyball in person. So Shockers continue their historic run through the American, trying to duplicate at least that 18-0 start that they had one season in the Valley. Wichita State inching closer to that magical 25 here in set 2. It was a 2008. They went 18-0 in the Missouri Valley Conference. This marks the third best overall start in a conference all time for Wichita State. And they're looking more and more like they're going to make it 13 tonight.
Alex Kuhn, a good swing here on a long cross-court pass from Hebert. Good job putting it right into the swing pocket of Kuhn, who gets it off the top of the high hands and down.
We talk about Abby Lehman being so ultra efficient with her attack percentage, and rightfully so, but Emily Hebert, Emma Wright, who has a limited amount of swings but also is comfortably over 300 in her attack percentage as well. And of course Tabitha Brown, a more than respectable 274. So you set them up and Wichita State's going to knock them down most times. Allie Barrett misfiring on a serve, and now Wichita State really on cruise control here in the second set. Stay with us during the intermission. We'll hear from one of the Shocker non-seniors and the aforementioned Tabitha Brown. She'll be in our spotlight during the intermission, so hang around for that. And we're going to be there before you know it. Wichita State is only 3 away now, as UConn seemingly can't do much right now.
Pretty impressive that Wichita State has had this on cruise control, with Tabitha Brown having all of 3 kills. That she can have a night like this where she hasn't necessarily played bad, they just haven't needed her, and it hasn't been a problem at all.
And not the best pass to Tabitha Brown right there either, but yeah, you're talking about last weekend where she's knocking on the door of a career high in kills, and she's had nights where she's had 50-plus swings, and tonight you get to stay in the rocking chair a little bit and let
Take the night off, yeah.
Yeah, let some other people do it.
Rest is kind of a foreign concept in volleyball, especially with the rotations, but it is kind of interesting to think about it. If you want to save some legs and you don't want Tabitha Brown having to take 50 swings a game, you can get others involved.
Double hit by Wichita State, kind of staving off the inevitable here late in set 2. Well, it's been more of the same when you talk about attack percentages for both of these clubs. It was all Shockers in the first set, and it's only gotten mildly better for UConn here in the second. It's just a cosmetic second set. What's the final score going to be?
Abby Lehman was so huge for Wichita State up in Stores. She had 17 kills on 22 swings with no errors. It's 773. They haven't needed her for quite that volume of swings tonight, but she is still hyper efficient. 7 kills, 11 swings.
2 more to get after that serve goes into the net. Kara Brown trying to serve for the set. Service error by Kara. When it's almost been, Denning, like if Wichita State just plays consistently, sooner or later their consistency is going to be better than UConn's best. They can't seem to string anything good together. They're out of system the whole entire match.
They wear you down. They force you to, in most cases, get more than one good swing and a point just to win it. Yep. And that is hard to string together.
One of the better swings by Barrett is dug out from Wichita State side. And Tabitha Brown finds the Husky floor, and Wichita State has taken a commanding 2-0 lead, 14-16 as we head to the intermission. The Shockers just that close to going 13-0 in the American and 21-3 overall. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State leading in commanding fashion, 2-0. The stats will bear that out, and we'll get to them. They are mind-boggling. We'll get to those here shortly. But right now, one of the non-seniors for Wichita State getting to speak her piece. We heard earlier this season from Georgia Chivita. And Tabitha Brown, the junior from Spring, Texas, would certainly like this ride to last as long as it can, not only for her, but for the Shocker seniors.
Whenever I think of Shocker volleyball, I think of a huge dysfunctional family. For some of us, it's kind of nerve-wracking with Lambeau putting Abby Lehman on the right side and then switching Michaela and I in and out of the back row. It's a lot of new information that we have to learn within 3 days. But since we do have a very talented group of girls, they are able to adjust very quickly. Since we are at the top of the conference, a lot of teams are going to probably do a better job against us than they do against others. And so that's something we definitely have to look out for, especially in the second round. I'd say that the AAC has a lot more powerhouses. And so, yes, being able to keep the ball in play is going to be important for us, but also being able to score whenever it does get very tight is going to be important as well. Lambeau also discussed it as well, so it meant that Wichita State volleyball had to be more of a scoring team than a just keeping the ball in play team. That's one thing that we have against this conference, is that we know how to keep the ball in play and we know how to win. I feel like we're in a very good rhythm right now, but sometimes we'll let teams get little runs on us, and so we make sure that we come back and look at the bigger picture whenever that does happen to us. And I think as long as we stay very tight as a team, keep working hard, keep finding things every day to make us better, then we should be good. I feel like with all these seniors, we almost owe that to them because they've been in this program so long and they have contributed since day one. And since they are so experienced, I think that this is the team that has the best chance of going as far as possible and almost surpassing the Sweet 16. And we can if we want to, as long as we stay close-knit and work hard every second.
Mismatches on paper sometimes lead to looking ahead, but don't tell UConn that. Wichita State has been ready for everything from the get-go. It's been all Shockers so far in the first couple of sets. We'll be back with more for you after this. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Shockers with a 2-0 lead over the UConn Huskies in their quest to make it 13 out of 13, their first time through the American. We'll take a look at the stats here, Denning, and it's lopsided. It looks historical because so far it kind of is.
Shockers approaching some rarefied air in that hitting percentage row. They're holding UConn to negative .015 on the hitting percentage. That would be a season low for opponents. Duquesne hit .017 against Wichita State earlier this year. And then the Shockers' own hitting percentage at .511. That would blow away their previous season high, which was .420 against South Florida last time out. So you combine a historic defensive outing with a historic offensive one, and it's really no surprise that the first two sets have gone the way they have.
And no surprise that the highlights pretty much dominated by Wichita State in virtually every category. They had 25 kills as a club. They also had their share of blocks. Looked like Wichita State would never give up more than 2 in a row from UConn, and I don't know, I haven't dug that far into it, but I don't think you can look back and see any run where UConn said, okay, we got something for you.
Right, I think there was one 3-point run for the Huskies, and 2 of the 3 points came on Wichita State errors, and so it's hard to say that the Huskies were able to establish anything, while the Shockers had tremendous balance offensively. Lehman led the way with 7 kills, and defensively absolutely stifling.
No letdown so far here tonight. Temple coming to town Sunday, but the Shockers look like they're going to take care of business with UConn here this evening. We'll come back with more for you after this on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, Charles Koch Arena. You're watching the American on WSU TV. It's been all Shockers from the get-go. I think there's been 1 point here tonight that the Shockers have not led. That was 1-0 in the second set, and they quickly rectified that, and it's been a steamroller driven by Woo-Shock ever since. Hey, you can stop by the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes 2 hours prior to all WSU men's basketball games and enjoy great game day specials on food and drinks. It's a perfect place to meet your friends before all the men's home games. And if the Shockers are on the road, you can catch all the games on TV at the Shocker Sports Grill and Lanes, lower level in the Radigan Student Center. And if all that is true, that'll start tomorrow at 3 o'clock because Wichita State's men's basketball team with an exhibition against Henderson State, a very, very busy weekend of Shocker sports. Denning and I will be back here on Sunday at noon as Temple comes to town, try to knock off the Shocks. That'll be an epic match on Sunday. And then, of course, Monday, the exhibition game with Newman, benefiting the American Red Cross. Women's basketball tomorrow. They've already actually had an exhibition game, so it's been a busy week for Shocker sports.
And don't forget about the baseball team having their Fall World Series over at X Stadium. If you look outside and wonder, is it baseball weather? That's a very valid question, but they've been playing through the cold.
Get them ready for early spring next year.
Right.
That final game of the Black and Gold World Series will be tomorrow at 1 also. So campus will be buzzing with Shocker sports. All right, so Wichita State on the brink of 13-0, 21-3 overall, 8-1 at home. List of accolades individually and team-wise go on and on and on. And boy, this is a fun team to watch. And not only is it talent, Denning, it's work ethic, getting on the floor. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the dig drill that Chris Lamb brought back from the dead for his Wichita State team. And I think sometimes when you get cruising like he has, you got to find different ways to keep their attention and keep Wichita State sharp, because you can only say so many things, and then, you know, you tend to maybe start to lose them a little bit. I'm certainly not accusing Wichita State of that, but you got to come up with some different ideas.
I mean, imagine coming to your team and saying, listen, guys, I know we lead the conference in every statistical category, but we have to do this better. It's hard to present it in that context. You really have to get them focused on something and say, hey, this is an area in which we can improve. And I really feel like ever since that was made a point of emphasis, Wichita State's ability to dig the volleyball has just gone to another level.
And the domination, the taking the other squad totally out of their game was elevated times 10 seemingly. Like you said, after that drill that Lambeau had him do a couple of weeks ago, it's been, man, lights out.
And you said fun to watch, and I think that's true, but it's also, you watch Wichita State and they're having fun playing, and you really can't underestimate that enough, because they make it look fun because they're having fun. You know, it's just, it really is enjoyable.
Tabitha Brown kind of illustrated that in her little set down that she had during the intermission. Abby Lehman, one of those seniors she was referring to, that Tabitha said deserves all the accolades and wins that they can get. And so far here in the third set, Shockers have raced out to the first 3 points.
Up in Storrs, Connecticut really tried to take away Wichita State's outside hitters, made a very concerted effort to limit the pin players. Raudsep hit 067, Brown hit 059. They had 9 combined attack errors, but in these 2 matches against the Shockers, the Huskies have just not had an answer for Lehman.
Good dig on the back there by Arundel. Raudsep bidding for her 6th kill. Another great dig. And she tried to return the favor, but the one-armed attempt couldn't keep it in play. And now 2 in a row by UConn.
Dini getting a kill there in the middle for the Huskies. 6'2" middle from Springfield, Illinois. One of a couple of Illinois recruits on this Husky roster.
A pretty good pass right there to the 6'2" senior. Off the right side, point UConn, Isabel Peterson. Mentioned earlier, she's coming off a career-high 12 kills against Houston.
Sliding it off the tape and right through the Shocker block. I think it was Lehman who was just a hair late getting over there.
And miscommunication leads to UConn's first lead here in the set. We mentioned it a time or two how I know that UConn had a week to get ready for Wichita State, but they had two real gut wrenchers in their last two matches, both going 5 sets. They came up short on both. Apparently something is physically wrong with Kayla Williams, to where she played very little in both of those matches and not at all here tonight. So, I mean, you're talking about an uphill climb and a tough job for the head coach for UConn to keep his group together, because they're below 500 and they've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, we were talking before the game about just kind of the statistical oddities on UConn's schedule so far. They have gone 7-6 on the road or on neutral courts and 3-8 at home. And those 4 straight losses they have suffered all have been at home. Just not something you see very often.
Yeah, another near ace, or at least initially, for Alex Kuhn, but that was not handled properly, and Wichita State registers yet another one. So in kind of a back and forth third set, a 6-4 Shocker advantage has prompted a timeout from UConn. So we'll take it with them. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shockers trying to outslug UConn here early in the third set. Shane and Denning with you here at the Roundhouse. Wichita State will get Temple here on Sunday, and then the next 4 for the Shockers on the road. And ECU better than previous preseason expectations. They're 7-5 in the league, and the Shockers will go to Cincinnati from there. But Denning, first reports saw Central Florida swept Cincinnati tonight, so that was a bit of an oddity, and dropping Cincy to 8-5 in what is widely regarded, I think, Cincinnati, SMU, a couple of teams Shockers will play on the road here shortly, as the kind of the next cut after Wichita State and Temple.
And speaking of oddities, take a look at what's happening in the Temple and Memphis match. The Tigers came in 1-11 in the American. They have already taken a set and are leading in set 3. That would be a stunner.
Huh. Boy, we just talked about a look-ahead match where statistically it's no contest, Wichita State and UConn, and maybe even more so with Temple and Memphis. But that just goes to show you can't have a letdown on any night. Credit Wichita State for taking care of their business, but boy, wouldn't that be a blow to Temple if they can't come back from that.
You know, we've talked a lot about Wichita State having the target on their back, and that's difficult for Wichita State to have to deal with, certainly, but it also means that teams are going to be looking ahead to matches against the Shockers.
True.
And so anything prior to that, even if it is against a team like Memphis, which has really struggled this season, can really come back to bite you.
Georgia Chivita with a great dig just a moment ago. She's second in the conference in digs per set, but credit UConn for staying with it as they end up getting the kill and the point. There's another look.
McGarry sliding this one off the tape and just sneaking it down on the far side as Tabitha Brown made a lunging effort after it. Seems like that's kind of what it takes for UConn to squeeze out a point tonight.
Well, statistically, you would think that if UConn's going to score, it's not going to be silky smooth anyway, but I think we saw that after 2 sets, they'd already made 15 attack errors, and that certainly won't do, especially when they only hit 196 on the year.
Just not in good positions to get those quality swings that you need. And The Shockers do such a good job of limiting that as Lehman puts away another kill, but they just kind of dictate the terms of how matches are played out. They're in positions to get those good swings, whereas their opponents are taking swings from well off the 10-foot line.
UConn, very good serving team, had 4 aces after 2 sets, but the Shockers not far behind with 3 of their own. Hebert finds the deep corner again. That's the 2nd time tonight. That's a thing of beauty right there.
What we're seeing from Hebert is a game of adjustments. So early in the season, she was using that second ball over, but it was more at a sharper angle, just quickly down right across the net. Now, as defenses have recognized that's something that's in her arsenal, they are sliding up, and so she is pushing it more towards the back of the court where there's some open court.
Shockers open up the lead again, and
There
she
it
does
is.
it again.
Yep.
She has picked her spots a little more selectively here tonight, but the success rate has continued.
See, look at how the defense just slides up a hair, just a step or two, recognizing she's capable of that second ball over, and then there's no one back over the top. It's like a safety sliding up to protect against the run.
Unofficially 5 kills for her. That's a pretty good swing from there. And Wichita State was equal to the task, and a good job there by Emma Turner to pull an Emily Hebert and dump one over for a UConn point. It's a good rally right there.
That was a heck of a swing from McGarry. It looked
really was.
almost blind from way back, and she was still able to put a lot on it before Turner eventually got it down.
And Brown put a lot on it. Finds the Husky floor, and Wichita State leading by 5 again.
Yeah, that's a rocket from Tabitha Brown. When she can go cross court, that is lethal. She is so talented at going down the line on that pin position, but when she's got that kind of bag of tricks available to her with that rocket for a right arm, it is difficult to handle.
And as part of the block as well. Brown unofficially with her 6th kill, and she teamed up on the left side of the Shocker tape to stuff it down to the UConn floor.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about when I said a team effort blocking the volleyball. It's not necessarily Abby Lehman getting all the credit, though she certainly deserves a lion's share of it, but the outside hitters with Raudsep and Brown getting involved as well.
Great dig by Tabitha Brown. We haven't said much about her digging balls as well, but she gets in the act and came up a little short on the attack effort right there. But Tabitha Brown is turning in a beauty of a junior year.
Chris Lamb mentioned how he wanted to make her into a true 6-rotation player, capable of doing everything on the volleyball court, and we've seen it, a sample size of it over the last couple of points, her ability to get good swings, but also dig and block with effectiveness.
She was tied for 2nd on the club in digs. Tabitha Brown, of course, Chivita with most of them on the back row, but Tabitha Brown, one of 5 Shockers in triple digits in digs this year. Iman McGarry to serve for UConn. And the Huskies just can't string a long rally together against Wichita State tonight. It's pretty much been one and done. If it's on the Shocker side of the floor, it's not going to stay that way for long.
It's kind of a feel-good match, too, for Michaela Raudsep, who we have highlighted a number of times as the player who, if she is clicking, in addition to all those other weapons, you start figuring out how is it even possible to stop Wichita State.
And if Michaela can get 2 more kills here in the 3rd set, she would bring up an even 1,000 in her career. Needed 8, has 6. Hebert sets up Alex Kuhn that time on the left. Pretty good athletic play just to make contact with it from Adini that time. But Wichita State cashes it in. It's UConn again out of system.
Another good swing from Emma Wright, who gets the kill. She really hadn't been much of a factor due to missing some time with that concussion. She had only had 1 kill since the 15th of last month.
Hadn't played since the 20th of October. I don't know if that was going to be in or not, but McGarry wasn't taking any chances. Kept it alive in the deep corner. Lehman at first, and then on the right to Alex Kuhn. Or Emma Wright, I should say. And Raudsep with a kill on the left.
How cool is that to watch Emily Hebert just distributing the ball all over the court? First she went to Lehman in the middle. The Huskies were able to turn that aside, so then she tries Kuhn on the right and eventually comes all the way back to the left to Raudsep. Huskies just scrambling all over the place, and third time's the charm.
Chivita with yet another dig. And not her best effort, but a kill nonetheless from Abby Lehman. The Shockers pulling away from UConn here in the third set. That'll prompt a Chris Grunwald timeout. The Huskies trying to stem the tide here in the third set. Shockers have had their way with UConn here tonight, winning the first two sets there, 14-16, and then Wichita State here in the third set, leading by 7. We showed you earlier what Wichita State has left, and the majority of them are on the road after that Temple game here on Sunday. At ECU, we mentioned earlier, ECU better than preseason expectations before their match tonight. They were 7-5. And then Cincinnati, if they lost tonight, if that is true, they'll be 8-5 in American play. And then at Tulsa and SMU, an SMU team that's hanging around at 10-2, but seemingly a cut below Wichita State and Temple. That won't be easy down in Dallas either. And then the two matches against Memphis, one there and one here, to wrap up the season. But we talked about it earlier, Denning, that the RPI opportunities aren't necessarily there. So it's simple for Wichita State if you want to try to get an opportunity at hosting. You simply can't lose. You got to win them all.
You're absolutely right. And I was going to say that it would be nice if Wichita State had a little bit of breathing room heading down into that match against SMU on the road in Dallas, just because they would have a 2-game lead and they could lose that hypothetically and still win the conference. Really, that's not the goal at this point. It is thinking bigger picture.
And there is no conference tournament to bank on if you're, well, let's call it what it is, if you're not Wichita State. You know, if you don't have a resume worthy to stand on its own, you don't have a conference tournament to go out and try to win and get in the NCAAs that way. So in that particular instance, Wichita State's obviously in great shape. But you're right. You certainly try to win out. I think if there was such a thing, the Shockers would be favored in all those matches. But with the majority of them on the road, you just never know.
Yeah, looking at the rest of the American earlier this week, I was trying to evaluate who might be a possible at-large candidate. It's really tough to find one. It seems like just about everybody's on the outside looking in at best. I think SMU maybe has a shot at it, but they would have to really close strong and definitely would have to be Wichita State
right
in their barn.
Abby Lehman with her 11th kill a moment ago makes it 19-10. Big swing in the middle. McGarry strikes again. She's had a nice match.
Nice back row attack there past the diving Hannah Shelton, who, despite her diminutive stature, seems to get to just about everything back there.
McGarry now with 5 kills here tonight.
Kuhn with another nice kill, and it seems like she is so good on swings where it looks like she's kind of flat-footed, maybe off balance a little bit, having to redirect her body. She still finds areas of the court where there's just not many defenders.
5 more to get for Wichita State. They have rarely been tested here tonight from UConn. And as Denning pointed out, the matchup at Storrs was closer scores-wise. Shockers won them all, but UConn put up a little bit better fight on their home court, but not quite tonight. It's been more of a thorough thumping. And Hebert strikes again at the net, giving the Shockers a 10-point third set lead.
We have seen everything in her attack repertoire tonight. We have seen the more firm push towards the back of the court, and there, this time, guides it with the backhand kind of blindly right over the net.
Routes up to serve. Shockers searching for 4 more and getting ready for Temple on Sunday. And that over a few Shocker hands, but deep down toward the corner. So it remains to be seen if Temple can stage a comeback against Memphis, the last place team in the league. Temple and SMU both at 10-2, chasing Wichita State at 12-0. As Denning told you, the Memphis Tigers are giving Temple all they want tonight, as Wichita State, conversely, is absolutely taking care of business.
Another nice block from the Shockers as they get set up for the swing on the outside. It was Kuhn.
Solo block.
Recognized that swing was headed cross court towards the middle and just slid over at the last second, kept the hands high.
Well, it's been a long night for UConn, knowing that they were going to be without their leading attacker, Kayla Williams, and also leading the UConn Huskies in aces. Not in uniform tonight, and it showed. Wichita State probably would have had similar results anyway, but when you're down your best player, it's a tough climb, and the Shockers made UConn pay for it tonight. It was a thorough, dominating performance here at the Roundhouse. And there's the final point. So the Shockers, in their third to last home match of the season, only Temple and Memphis remain to visit the Roundhouse, and UConn can't get out of town soon enough. All Shockers tonight. We'll be back with more after this on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shana Denning back here at Charles Koch Arena. It was a thoroughly dominating performance, Denning, as the Shockers blew out UConn. And we mentioned it one other time, when there's a mismatch on paper, sometimes it's going to set up a letdown. But Wichita State came out ready to play from the beginning.
I'm sure Chris Lamb absolutely did not allow that letdown to take place. He is so good at emphasizing that you have to respect every single opponent. You have to recognize that anyone can beat you on any given night, and that the numbers heading in really don't mean a whole lot. But with that being said, the Shockers absolutely took care of business thorough pretty much from point one.
Well, regardless of whether Temple wins or not, there'll be a stiff match coming up Sunday at noon. There you see the match summary, and the numbers bear out what Denning just told you. It was the Shockers from the get-go. But at Temple, and I guess you could spin it this way too, Denning, if Temple happens to lose tonight to the league's worst team in Memphis, then they will be an angry bunch of owls. So
right.
Either way, you got to be ready Sunday, right?
Yeah, it looks like Temple has just dropped that third set, so they're down 2-1. They will have to rally, and I think we are seeing a letdown match over there. Temple just probably looking ahead to Wichita State. If they do happen to drop that, they will absolutely need to respond in a big way and respond quickly, because this Shocker team is firing on all cylinders right now.
Well, we will be back here again on Sunday to do it all again. The second to the last match we'll have for you here at home on WSU TV. Hope you'll tune in and see the Shockers and the Owls. But tonight it was all Wichita State. Rude host as the Shockers blow out UConn. For Denning Gehrig, Shane Dennis saying thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you again on Sunday on WSU TV.